This meeting is being recorded.
Hi there, we're going to wait a few minutes before we get started. Make sure that everybody has an opportunity to join. Everybody, we're going to wait a few minutes for others to join before we get started. just going to wait about another 2 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming to LSS-NCA's Transitional Foster Care Town Hall. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining, and also just share with you we're joined today by Nadia Andrusik, who's the Executive Director of the Children, Youth, and Family Services Program. Unfortunately, Kristen Peck, our CEO, is under the weather and not able to join us. But just a reminder that if you have any questions, to just please drop them in the Q&A, and then the panelists will be able to answer them at the end of the program. So let's get started with the town hall. First, I'd like to introduce you to Nadia Andrusik, who has spent more than a decade working in Washington, D.C.'s Children and Family Services Agency's Office of Youth Empowerment as a social worker, supervisor, and a program manager. She worked to improve the trajectory for youth aging out of foster care and highlighted how foster youth are at higher risk for becoming victims of trafficking. Nadia then moved into Child Protective Services, followed by working in the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and then Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. So Nadia, over to you. And again, please, any questions that you have, please leave them in the Q&A, and they'll be answered after the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see you here. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Nadia Andrusik, and I am the Executive Director for Children, Youth, and Family Services at LSS-NCA. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I started my career as a social worker at DC's Child and Family Services Agency, and I worked in child welfare for about 13 years. I then transitioned to working with unaccompanied children, and after that, I was the Director of Women's Shelters and Family Supported Housing at Catholic Charities. While at Catholic Charities, I missed my work with children and youth, and the opportunity to integrate my work with unaccompanied children and child welfare came through LSS-NCA as the Director of the DC URM program in May of 2021. I've been the Executive Director of the Children, Youth, and Family Services Department since April of this year. The passionate and experienced directors of the programs in my department truly understand the mission of the organization. They live it every single day, and as a result, it radiates through their teams. But let's take a step back, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the growth of this department. Children, Youth, and Family Services has had an exciting year. We've become a fully staffed department, growing from a handful of full and part-time staff to 29 full-time members and still growing. As we grew our team, employing the right staff who are passionate about their work and knowledgeable about how to do it, we have also extended our continuum of care to unaccompanied children. In July, we were awarded a contract through the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, to provide foster care and case management services via Transitional Foster Care in Northern Virginia for up to 24 unaccompanied children. Transitional Foster Care, or TFC, provides a safe and loving home to children between the ages of 5 and 12 for a short period of time, generally 30 to 60 days, while a parent or other caretaker is identified in the United States to care for that child while they participate in their immigration proceedings. Children are crossing international borders unaccompanied to escape violence and persecution in their home country. The majority of children are expected to arrive from Central America. In 2021, according to ORR, 47% of unaccompanied children were from Guatemala, followed by Honduras and El Salvador. LSS-NCA has served this population for many years through our Unaccompanied Refugee Minor program, which some of you may be familiar with. We've been fortunate to have 19 children in loving long-term foster homes in FY22, and we are now eager to provide a safe and loving environment for unaccompanied children in transitional foster care homes until they can be reunited with their families. In the past year, more than 122,000 unaccompanied children have come to the United States in search of safety. Children who range in age from newborn to young teens. All have entered the country without a legal parent or guardian, many on their own. More than 10,000 unaccompanied children were released to sponsors in the DMV area in fiscal year 21. Those sponsors are vetted individuals who are willing to care for unaccompanied children while permanent reunification options are explored. This highlights the need for a robust foster care program in the area so more children who aren't lucky enough to have family members to support them can not only find a loving home, but a familiar community to welcome them as they transition into a new life. As of April, a large number of unaccompanied children of tender age, 0 to 12, were not living with sponsors or in foster homes, but rather in standard government shelters and therapeutic group homes while awaiting potential reunification. We believe all children deserve the chance to be in a loving, warm, and welcoming family home, especially those who have been through so much on their own to make their way to safety in our communities. While in TFC, LSS-NCA provides essential services, including case management to the children with the support of foster parents who will need to transport them to certain activities. The children will attend educational programming provided by LSS-NCA 5 days a week at Bethlehem Lutheran Church in Fairfax. In addition to educational programming and recreational activities like sports and field trips, LSS-NCA provides complete comprehensive medical screenings and access to behavioral health support, connection opportunities with family who remain in their home country. In order to become a fully licensed transitional foster care parent, you must complete 12 to 15 hours of pre-service training, which prepares you to accept a child into your home from a trauma-informed approach. You will also need to complete child protection and police clearances. A licensing worker will also conduct home inspections and interviews with you and your family. The process to become a licensed foster parent can take up to 60 days, but we can chat more about that during the Q&A section. You can also find the forms to sign up on our website. In some cases, reunification may not be an option. This happens if a parent or guardian cannot be identified or those who are located are not deemed safe and appropriate. If this is the case, the children may be referred to ORR's Unaccompanied Refugee Minor program, which we also support. The URM program provides support to children who come to America without legal parents or guardians, and for whom no family can be found or deemed safe, and are then eligible for benefits and services such as financial support, case management, ESL, and other essentials. For unaccompanied children in our TFC program who do not have reunification options, it is our hope that these children will be able to remain in our URM program and stay in their foster homes long term. This provides consistency and support to the children. The URM program in Virginia and DC are thriving. By the end of fiscal year 23, we're on track to have 50 youth in the URM foster care programs. Children and youth in the URM program are graduating high school, pursuing post-secondary educational opportunities, and obtaining gainful employment. One story I'm really excited to share with you is one many of you may recognize. Deudone, who has shared his story with you over the years, first came to the US when he was 13. He fled the Dominican Republic of the Congo to a refugee camp in Uganda as a child, along with his sister, before reaching the United States. This first airplane ride did more than just bring him to a new, safe home. It also reset the trajectory of his life, inspiring him to pursue a degree in air transportation management and become a pilot. After being named the valedictorian in his high school, he was awarded several scholarships to see that goal through. And just this summer, he was officially adopted by his foster family. The Transitional Foster Care Program, along with the URM program, will allow LSS NCA to provide services and support to 74 unaccompanied children at a time. But here's where we need your help. We need fully licensed foster parents to accept and welcome these children. We quite literally could not do it without you. We're so glad you all joined us here this evening with open hearts to learn how you can open your homes to unaccompanied children as transitional foster care parents. We'll now open the floor to questions left in the Q&A box, but please also visit our website to learn more or sign up today to become a transitional foster care parent. So if you all have any questions for us about our transitional foster care program or any of our programs that we have in the Children, Youth, and Families programs, please let us know.
And you can use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen to ask any questions that you have that we can answer. If you have any worrying about anything or wondering about how you can help, feel free to just ask that, and we will address those questions kind of one at a time as they come up. So one of the questions that I got was, how many more foster families are you in need of?
As many as we can get. We are launching our transitional foster care program at the end of October. So we are seeking as many foster parents as we can get our hands on for the program. We need to be able to house up to 24 children at a time. So as many as possible.
Next question that I have is, where should the foster parent reside? Only Northern Virginia?
Yes, so for transitional foster care, we do need the foster parents to live in Northern Virginia and to have access to driving the children to and from school in Fairfax. But we are also seeking foster parents for all of our other programs as well. Our URM program in Northern Virginia has a larger radius. We also license foster parents in the district and within 20 miles of the district for our district URM program.
The next question that we have is, what is the anticipated schedule for the TFC program, school and program hours?
It is looking as though we will be able to have children in the building as early as 7:30 or 8 a.m. and have them in the building until about 6 p.m. So we're trying to have some before care programming as well as aftercare programming, knowing that people need to be able to get to their places of work and take care of those things during the day.
Great. Next question. You indicated most children are from Central America. We don't speak any Spanish. Are there any language requirements or support for getting over the language barrier?
Yes. So we do not have language requirements. We understand that not everyone will be able to speak Spanish. We offer interpretation services over the phone, and the majority of our staff for the program are bilingual, so can also assist with any sort of translation and interpretation services.
The next question is, do you know if DC or Maryland has the same program, and or if there's, or does URM have short-term placements as well if you are located in Maryland or DC?
Sure. So in Maryland and DC, we do not have a transitional foster care program as of right now. We only have the unaccompanied refugee minor program. So those placements are for longer periods of time, but we do accept people to become foster parents in Maryland and DC as respite foster parents. So, you know, short term when the primary foster parents are out on vacation, might have an emergency that they need to go out of town for. We do offer that as well.
Great. Can other adults live in the household other than the certified foster parents?
Absolutely. They just need to submit the same clearances to be deemed appropriate and safe for the child, but the more the merrier.
The next one, can transitional foster parents access the resources available for general foster parents?
Yes, they will be licensed foster parents in the state of Virginia, so they have access to all of the same supports and services as anyone else. And the children are really in their homes for short periods of time, so it's hopeful that the amount of services required will not be as much.
If you live in Maryland and are willing to drive to Fairfax for the youth school, can you still qualify?
Unfortunately, no. The state regulations require homes to be in the state of the children's living. But we do, again, in Maryland, we are more than happy to have foster homes for our unaccompanied refugee minor program. There is also information on our website about the unaccompanied refugee minor program and an opportunity for you to submit a questionnaire for that as well if you do live in the Maryland or DC areas.
What percentage of children transition from the transitional care into the refugee program?
It is a smaller percentage. I don't have an exact number, but it is really the intent of the Transitional Foster Care Program to reunite the children with whoever it was they were traveling to the United States to stay with. They just are making a stop in transitional foster care, and we are facilitating the reunification with that individual. So it's a very small number, but there's definitely a significant number in that referrals come in for unaccompanied refugee minors all of the time. So there's always that chance that there's not going to be a reunification option.
Can you talk more about the process of clearances to become a foster parent?
Sure. It's pretty invasive, to be fully transparent. There's child protection clearances to make sure you don't have any abuse or neglect on your record, police clearances, FBI clearances. There's a medical documentation and TB testing, and then the rest of the entire process is really our licensing worker getting to know you and your family and making sure you're a good fit for the program and that the program is a good fit for you. And then there's some documents you need to sign that you agree to everything, but those are really the primary clearances that need to be completed.
Great. Next question is, can we foster in Maryland? And I'm guessing that this question probably relates more to fostering kind of outside of TFC.
If you wanted to foster unaccompanied refugee minors, you absolutely can in Maryland, depending on where you live in the state. If you live too far out from DC, I would suggest getting in touch with your local county's Department of Social Services to foster through just the child welfare agency in your county.
Is it likely that children can be adopted out by foster families from the TFC or URM programs?
It is possible. TFC, it would really depend on whether reunification becomes an option. And then if reunification is not an option, they would be deemed eligible possibly for the URM program. And then you can absolutely adopt out of the URM program. Deudone, who I shared his story, was living in his foster home for several years. They took advantage of all of the opportunities the foster care system could offer to him. And when he turned 21, they filed a petition in court and adopted him and made him an official member of their family. So it is definitely a possibility.
That's a great question. How can we support this program if we cannot be foster parents?
Oh, that's a great question. There are so many different ways. We are always looking for volunteers to help out with, we're trying to build a volunteer network for the Transitional Foster Care Program to help the actual foster parents who may need a night out or a break or some assistance in some way with babysitting. We're always looking for donations for the program to help with keeping the school educational programming running, recreational activities running. Many of these children are arriving with just the clothes on their backs from countries with much warmer climates. So we are going to start asking for winter clothing, particularly winter coats, hats, gloves, anything that would be helpful for a child who is coming to a new country with almost nothing.
What clearances do you have to go through to be a volunteer?
You would still need to go through the child protection clearances and the police and FBI clearances because the children, they're minors. We have to take every precaution when we have people interacting with the children.
And who pays for the clearances?
I believe our agency does, actually. So it's a reimbursable expense that is not too costly. So it's an easy fix for us to reimburse you for those expenses.
Those are all the questions that we have so far. We'll give it another few minutes just in case any other questions kind of pop up. And if not,
please visit the website. There's a lot of information on there about these children and the program and ways you can get involved and for you to fill out a form to become a foster parent. It seems that some of you live in Maryland. That's not precluding you from being a foster parent and participating in LSS's continuum of care for our children.
We're going to go until about 7:30, and then we can kind of wrap things up. So if there's any final questions or if you're looking for any other information, you can just put that in the Q&A and we'll get that before 7:30.
You're welcome. And if you have anyone in your life who you think this might work for to be a foster parent or be involved in some way, please pass them along to our website to gain some information. My contact information is on the website. We are more than happy to answer any and all questions and talk to anyone who's interested.
And it's also a great way to help the program by just kind of spreading the word, kind of sharing what you learned in this webinar tonight. And just letting people know what we do and some of the information you learned. It could be pretty impactful to other people as well. What's the typical age of the kids in transitional care?
Sure. So kids in transitional foster care are between the ages of 5 and 12, primarily because they are traveling on their own. We do typically see more children between the ages of 10 and 12, but it is possible for them to be younger.
I think we have one last question and then we're going to wrap it up. Is there a stipend for foster parents to cover parts of the foster child's living expenses?
Yes, absolutely. Every month you will receive a board rate payment that supports additional costs to your household for having someone else living there. In addition to assisting with, clothing for the child, we do provide a clothing voucher. And all of the expenses that kind of increase when you add another person to your household, there's a stipend that comes along with that.
So that's all of the questions that we have.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and joining us tonight and learning about this program. We're really excited to get started and accept our first children at the end of next month. And we really hope to see you in one of our foster parent training courses shortly.
Yes, thank you, everybody.